Hey guys, I'm back now having finished my second book of the year, and I want to give my review and kind of just talk about it because this book means a lot to me. And that book is, let's just dive right in, is MASH by Richard Hooker. I love MASH. The TV show is my absolute favorite TV show of all time. It is my go to comfort TV show to watch, so I have been wanting to read this book for decades at this point, but it was really hard to come by when I was younger. And then I kind of forgot about the book for a while, and then I finally remembered it. Still was hard to come by, and now I finally had a copy. And honestly, like, before we even get into the book or anything, the hardest part about reading this book was the font. It is an old typeface font, so it's got the old typewriter style font to it. You can kind of, let's see if I can get it to focus. I don't think I can, but you can kind of see the typewriter style font here. And the lines are really tight. And so between the typewriter font and the tight lines, my dyslexia was having a hard time with this book. I had to read this in so many short little bursts over several months to get through it. But I did finally finish it, and so now I want to talk about it. Before we dive in fully, though, I do want to just say up front, spoilers for both the book and the TV show, because I adore the TV show, like I said. It was so far ahead of its time and one of the best TV shows that I have ever watched to this day. It is by far my favorite. It is like I feel like it's gonna be a required bonding experience with my future significant other to watch the entirety of MASH with me. I do own it. I got it for Christmas a couple of years back finally, so I have a hard copy of it because they keep moving it on streaming sites on me. So now I own a hard copy and I own the book. So, spoilers ahead for both the book and the TV show. Now, I did not know exactly what the book was when I initially watched MASH. MASH was just kind of on the TV whenever me and my brother would come home from school and stay at my grandparents' house, because they would watch MASH over on Hallmark Channel. I think it was either on Hallmark or the old USA channel. I can't remember exactly. But, like, they used to watch it too. And so because of my grandparents, that would become mine and my brother's ritual. And so MASH became very much our thing. All I really knew back then was that it was about a mobile army surgical hospital unit in the Korean War. That's all I really knew, is that it was just the stories of soldiers from the Korean War. Now having the book, I now know that this is based off, for the most part, real experiences. So yeah, the novel itself is based off of real stories. Names have been changed and characters have basically been consolidated. But he took real people and real experiences and stories he heard while serving in the Korean War and working in the army hospitals there, and he consolidated them down into this book to build characters off of. And he specifically made 3 doctors that he did the book based around. Benjamin Franklin Pierce. McIntyre. I forgot McIntyre's first name. Hold on. Okay, so I couldn't find McIntyre's name first. I found Forrest's name first. So it was Augustus Bedford Forrest, Benjamin Franklin Pierce, and John McIntyre, I believe. There's a middle name there, but we don't need me to sit through and go through the book to find their names again. I just McIntyre or Trapper. And those were the main 3 of the book, and it was basically just their life throughout their enlistment period, because during the Korean War, they were all drafted. So they had a very specific amount of time they had to fill out. And the number one thing I love about the book version of this compared to the TV show, because obviously the TV show had to do its own adaptation, it had to add more to it to keep it going for as long as it did. But what I love about the book is that it has a good ending. In the end, you do get, because it starts with Forrest and Pierce. Forrest and Pierce are the first 2 to arrive, and then Trapper comes later. I love that, yes, Trapper's still there at the end, but because you're following Forrest and Pierce, you do get to see them both go home after their enlistment period ends, and they have that moment of going back home. And I really love that. like, I love the ending of the TV show just as much. I think it's very impactful for the TV show, having Pierce kind of have a full mental breakdown. Like, that makes sense. That also happened over there as well. And it really fit for the time the TV show was made. But for, like, a good, solid ending for the novel, I love the ending of this. Them finally getting to the end of their enlistment and being able to go home and being able to just put it all behind them. Like, it is such a beautiful, like, full circle ending. It starts with the two of them being flown in, and then it ends with the two of them being flown out. It is a beautiful through and through, beginning to end book, and I love that about this. It is by far my favorite part about this book. Overall, honest to God, as somebody who loved the TV show first, the book really does, like, or rather not the book, but the TV show really did stick to the source material. There are episodes in the TV show that are almost verbatim from the book or very close to what they write about in the book. They just expanded on it. I don't know. I actually, because like, I did not deep dive into my hyperfixations when I was younger like I do now because I didn't have Wi-Fi until I was 18, 19. I was on dial-up internet for a majority of my my whole childhood and a majority of my life right now. I've had dial-up internet before I ever had Wi-Fi. So I wasn't able to like quick Google or research things like I used to, like I can now. Nothing was at my fingertips as a kid. So I didn't do so I haven't looked it up, but I'm not sure if to add more to MASH, if Alan Alda like talked to the author or worked with him or whatnot. I don't know if Richard is still alive. I don't actually know. I know I'm bad at this. But I don't know, because I know Alan Alda he wrote quite a few episodes, and he helped a lot with the show. And so it just feels like the show is a beautiful expansion of the book. It still follows their enlistment period, but it's longer because it's obviously a TV show and they need to keep it going. But all the little hijinks, all the little moments, the serious moments mixed in with the funny, it's just like that in the book. If you loved the TV show, you are also going to love the book, because there's a particular episode that has always stuck with me. And it was an episode in which they had a patient that needed to have blood transfusion first. Before they could operate on him, they could do a risky operation and not wait for the blood to get into his system, or they could wait and do a safe operation. And in the TV show, that episode is slightly different, but it does involve the general or one of the higher-ups coming down to see them and ask why they're not taking care of the patient because Houlihan contacted them. And what I love is there is a beautiful line done so beautifully by Alan Alda, and it is verbatim in this book. So I want to read this passage because this is a line that has always stuck with me from the TV show, and again, I love that they pulled it straight from the book. "Colonel," he said, "at 1:30, this guy had less than a pint of blood, and he has lost 2 or 3. His pulse was 120, and his blood pressure was about 90. Now, at 3 o'clock, he's had 3 pints of blood, his pulse is 80, and his blood pressure is 120. His collapsed lung is expanded, he's had a gram of terramycin intravenously. We can operate on him safely, we should do it quickly, but we don't have to do it frantically or carelessly." And I don't think it's like an exact quote in the TV show now that I'm rereading it again, but it's basically the same thing. It's the same sentiment. And this, I love the MASH units from the Korean War because they propelled army hospital tactics and just overall battle hospital tactics years in the future. They propelled them so far. And this book and the TV show are both a beautiful showcase of what these people can do or what they did and how they managed to, in a way, keep their sanity through stuff like that, through dealing with patients like that all the time. This is such a beautiful homage to our Korean vets, and I love it so, so much. And there are some scenes and some moments in the book that are not in the TV show they opted not to adapt, or that they adapted slightly differently, and you can see hints of it in some episodes, but not in all of them. And obviously there are characters that did not make it, like Forrest. Forrest isn't really a big character in the TV show, but one thing I do love about both the book and the TV show is the consistency with the way they treat race. Because this book originally came out in what? So the book came out in 68 and the TV show was produced from the early 70s to the early 80s. It was like I think a 10 or 11 season run, I believe. And the way they handle race in both of those for the time period is amazing. And it makes it even more impactful that these are real stories. These are real people who treated the Koreans with genuine respect and care. When I know there are horror stories from other soldier units out there during the Korean War, the MASH units, for the most part, were some of the most humane people in that war. And you really can see that through this book and through these experiences. And for the time period both of these came out and the time period of everything when all of it happened, this always stuck with me. Growing up mixed race, growing up being looked at weird whenever I was out with my Black family members and stuff, like, it felt so good to have a TV show that I could look to as a good example for just how equals should be treated and how people should be treated more equally. And it makes me just even like I said, I've always been proud of the MASH units from the Korean War, and this makes me even more proud of them because you did have incidences like this where they actually stood up for people of color and for the Korean nationals. And you really get to showcase that in this book. I feel like this book stands the test of time. It is a work of fiction, yes, but it is based on real events, and I think that's what makes this book so important for people to read. And honestly, like I was saying earlier, similar to the TV show, it blends the funny and the serious really, really well, which is kind of how they all survived out there. When you're dealing with so much tragedy, you kind of have to have a little bit of levity in any way that you can get it to make it palatable enough to not lose your mind. So yeah, I highly recommend this book and the TV show to everyone because it is just such a good book and good writing. And like Alan Alda for the TV show part of it, he definitely really took over. MASH became Alan's baby. It really did. And he poured his love and his soul into that TV show. I will always cry at the finale of it. Every time I watch it, I am sobbing like a baby. There's no getting around that. But I adore everything that the TV show and the book stand for. And I'm really glad that I own a copy of the book. I'd like to own like a hard copy of it, but I don't know if it's an older book. Hard copies weren't as popular in the 60s. So getting a good hard copy of this might take me a bit, especially because it is still a beloved book. So I'm going to work on that. That's on my bucket list of owning a nice hard copy of MASH. There's really not much else to say about the book. I know this isn't going to be like a long review, neither was my last review, but that's just because these are both books and characters that I adore, and I want to share them with people, which is why I make these videos. Because I know that MASH is so old, there are still people out there who have never heard of it before. And I really do think these are both beautiful pieces of media. The book especially. If you're dyslexic, though, like me, take your time reading it or try to find a copy that is a little bit more dyslexic friendly. It is an older print book, so it is a little harder to find a dyslexic friendly copy. But if you can, do it, because it is well worth the read. So please go read this book if you have not yet. And yeah, this book is just quintessentially me. This is going in my deep collection, so there's a good chance you'll hear me talk about MASH again at some point on this channel. That does it for this episode, though, guys. I hope that you are enjoying all of these. The next book, I want to kind of tease what I am reading for you guys here at the end, just to kind of give you an update on kind of what I'm doing. The next book is another, because all three of the books I've talked about recently, including this one I'm gonna talk about, have been sitting next to me right here, waiting for me to read them. So I finished Bucky, I've now finished MASH, and the next one that I'm gonna be reading is Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. I loved the first book. Dead Silence, I think it was. I believe it was Dead Silence. I adored it, and I love S.A. Barnes' writing style, so I'm very curious about Ghost Station. So this will be the next review that you guys can look forward to. It might take me a bit longer, though, because it is a bit thicker than MASH or Bucky. So... That does it for this video though, guys. If you liked it, share it with your friends, go read MASH if you haven't, and hit the subscribe button if you want to know when my next video is going to be.